Hi, a few years ago I was on holiday in the Philippines and I picked up this rather extraordinary sheet about bridge. It's every single fact you want to know about bridge crammed onto a piece of paper. Every tiny last bit of white space is filled up, and I like it because it kind of illustrates perfectly to me the role of a teacher. You could of course give your students that bit of paper, go away and learn it. You would never see them again, of course. And teaching, of course, is not about the facts and the skills. It's about the methodology of how you communicate these skills and these facts to your students. So they not only understand it, which is quite a low level skill actually, but they can apply it in an evaluative way in a live bridge situation. And of course, let's not forget, most importantly, they enjoy that process. It's stimulating, it's enriching. A teacher's job only begins when they've acquired the skills and knowledge they need to communicate. What's really interesting is the method of communication. And this is known in the bridge world, in the teaching world, as pedagogy, the methodology of teaching. And it's what I want to talk about, because I wonder if perhaps we don't sufficiently understand the pedagogy of bridge teaching. And what we do know about good teaching doesn't sufficiently inform our current recommended methods of teaching bridge. And I wonder if sometimes we plan our lessons around the content we want to deliver rather around the learning experience of the students who are at the receiving end. And it's absolutely essential, I think, to address these questions rigorously, because teaching bridge is not without some major problems. For example, it is very hard, I think, in bridge to balance two things that are really important: conceptual learning. If students don't know the underlying concepts of bridge, for example, what is a forcing bid, a concept they can apply in lots of different situations, they will flounder. But on the other hand, if they don't learn in an interactive way with their hands on the playing cards and they're practicing and trying things out the whole time, then they won't learn either. Bridge is neither it needs to be part delivery of information and part practicing. How do we balance those two things together? Sometimes if you only play at the table, all they get is examples. They don't get it processed into conceptual learning, which is really, really important. Another thing that is extremely difficult for bridge teachers, as it is for all teachers, but particularly so if you have people coming into the classroom in their late mid-50s, for example, haven't been taught for a long time, is differentiating your cohort. You'll have some very confident learners there, people who've experience of card play, maybe experience of bridge in the past, and some who haven't. A beginner's class is rarely what it says on the tin. It's often a whole range of skills. And I think to provide a class which is suitable for all the students in front of you is a very difficult thing to do, because you have to provide slightly different resources, different approaches, and look after your students in a different way. It's not an easy thing for a teacher to do. Neither is it easy for a teacher to assess a bridge student's learning. You can watch them play a hand, but they could be following what they've been told without understanding why they're doing it and not knowing how they could apply that information in an unfamiliar situation. There are also considerable barriers to learning bridge. For a start, there is the issue of confidence. It's fundamental to many learners. They completely have a crisis of confidence about what they're doing. Often they've come in from professional worlds, and they may be business people or good at maths or whatever it may be, and suddenly they find bridge much harder than they've expected it to be. They thought they would just pick it up, let alone before issues of behaviour and other issues come into play. Another problem about teaching bridge that we have to navigate is what I would call the problem-solving approach. Here's a quiz, and the answers are right or wrong. If you bid as I've taught you, you'll get the right outcome. Now, of course, we know that playing bridge is nothing like that at all. It's a best fit approach. It's a percentage game. So every time we get something that doesn't work out, it doesn't mean we've done it wrong. We might have done it absolutely right. And that's a very hard concept, I think, to communicate to our students. And another problem in this that I've come across is, I would say, perhaps an unhelpful dogmatism from teachers about how you teach, an assertion that their methods of teaching are the correct ones and everyone else's are slightly wrong. And I don't think that's a very helpful approach. So I think we have a combination of a difficult game to teach, plus a lack of knowledge really about the best way of teaching it. So what road would I propose to even begin to look for an answer to this? Well, maybe slightly dully, I think it needs more research into what are the appropriate methods. There's a great deal of academic research about the pedagogy of teaching, which I think we can look to and apply to our own teaching methods in Bridge. For example, there is a movement called the Building Learning Power movement, devised by kind of teaching guru Guy Claxton, famous to teachers. As far as I know, this could be very out of date, but when I was teaching, it was a very useful and helpful approach based around encouraging your students to develop the right learning habits, and particularly relevant for Bridge, resilience, which I think is essential, and resourcefulness. Now, resourcefulness is key. And Guy Claxton would characterize that by saying it's knowing what to do when you don't know what to do. And if that's exactly the skill you need as a Bridge player, picking up the cards which don't conform in any way to any of the lessons you've had, help, what do I do with this? Right, when I don't know what to do, I begin to think this way. This is the approach I'm going to take. I think we need research about how long it takes to learn Bridge. This has been a puzzle to me. eBed have two schemes of work, one for 24 hours and one for 2 years. One is called Fast Track and one is called the more standard approach. I'm not saying that either are wrong or right, but I don't think we really have a sufficient idea of what, for most people, the appropriate length of time to learn Bridge is. For example, the Fast Track program will have you learning bidding by week 3 of the course. But I've come across very senior and experienced Bridge teachers who say, I wouldn't touch bidding for 5 months. I would just play mini Bridge. And I think this divergence of view is unhelpful. We need to kind of have a more informed view of where really the consensus is and what the best way of approaching it is. We need to ensure that our Bridge teachers have all the gadgets and tools that classroom teachers use day in, day out. Jargon, probably, but things like scaffolding, modelling, jigsawing, flip learning. These are devices that school teachers use to engage their students' learning. And are we using those sufficiently in the Bridge classroom? All these things, I would hope, would refocus our conversation, our dialogue on learning rather than teaching, on the student experience. And I really passionately believe that this is the single most important question in Bridge today. It's far more important than online cheating or whether we're going to play with masks or who's going to play in the latest Gold Cup match, whatever it may be. Not that those are not important, but if we don't find the right methodology, the right way of bringing our beginners into the game, engaging with it in such a way that they can take their skills forward and play in the club room, then our game is going to wither and die, and that would be a terrible shame. So it's my suggestion that what resources the Bridge world has to offer should be focused on this question. I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.